My ancestors woke me up this morning. They say, son, you do know what time it is, don't you? I say, what time is that? They said it's wartime. So welcome to the war front, brothers and sisters. This is Irritated Genius Southeast. We're doing another Facebook Live. And today we're going to be talking about the resurgence of Black Lives Matter, which we had grown to start calling Gay Lives Matter because when we found out that the true agenda was to promote the homophile agenda. Homophile meaning homosexuality and pedophilia. That's a term we began to use a couple of years ago when we realized that homosexuality, this culture, has bled so deeply into our personalities and into our communities that to just call it white sex was no longer going to get the most bang for our buck in terms of getting people to understand that this is something we have to fight, because we can just then put it off on white supremacy, and that becomes a buzzword today, meaning we don't have any responsibility to do anything about our own condition. So what I'm going to do today, because we have some very pressing issues in terms of the resurgence of what they call Black Lives Matter, which again we call Gay Lives Matter, because it's really promoting the gay agenda. And that's why we use that terminology. I'm going to give a perspective on this so that people can get an understanding of what we're really facing and where this is all going and how dangerous it is. To go back sometime, just to give people a little history on who Black Lives Matter is and how it was started. It was started by 3 black women, 2 of whom are open lesbians. I think the third one is a lesbian, but I'm not certain. Alicia Garza is a lesbian. Patrice Cullors is a lesbian. And then Opal Tometi, I think she's a Nigerian sister. I'm not certain that she is a lesbian, but I think they're all 3 lesbians. But it definitely the Alicia Garza and the Patrice Cullors. And just so you know how to spell the name, Patrice Cullors is Patrisse. Cullors is Cullors. And then Alicia Garza, Alicia and then Opal Tometi, Opal Tometi, Tometi. So they started Black Lives Matter. Now, to understand the relevance of Black Lives Matter, they started it when Trayvon Martin was murdered by Zimmerman. And they tweeted it out, and all of a sudden they began a movement. Now, how did they get funded for the movement? From what we understand, the movement began to be funded by George Soros, who's a very rich international Zionist, white so-called Jew, we call them small hats, who began to finance this, just like he was financing a lot of movements in this country to create disruption. And in this particular movement, it's focused on galvanizing the energy of black people, capturing that energy, and then using it to promote homosexuality among black people so that we become so weak and easily moved that we can become the battering ram for the George Soros type Zionists who are trying to totally take control and tank this country. Now, we're not taking any position on the Anglo-Saxon Zionist war in this particular instance. What we do want to understand is how the Zionists tend to use black people and how Black Lives Matter is a part of that. And now they're coming back for a second war. So I want to, tell people how they did the first one, what we did to help shut them down, and how they've recalibrated and what they're up to now, because it's very important. And just so people know, if you're in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, this will be very, very important for you, because they're now launching a whole campaign. Matter of fact, this week, today is Monday morning. Today is the first day in Maryland. It's in Baltimore as well, and PG County school system, where they're having Black Lives Matter Week. And I'm going to show you, before we finish, some of the, and I want to thank Brother Marcus for sharing the information. I'm going to show you some of the curriculum so you can see what they're really pushing under the guise of Black Lives Matter. And when we get there, I just want to say this early on before we get deep into this. I cannot say that the school board in PG County, who unanimously voted in favor of this, that they understood that this is really a homosexual push, a LGBT homophile push to push this on our children. We don't know that they know that. What we do know is that that's what the objective is. So let me talk to you about how Gay Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter, I'm going to call them Gay Lives Matter from here on out, just to be clear that it's a homosexual movement now directly targeting our children. The way it did it, after they hashtag this Black Lives Matter thing, and however George Soros and the Zionists got a hold of what was happening with the momentum of that hashtag, they began to finance them. And where they really took off was, and it means a lot to me because I knew young brother King D. Seals. He's a young brother out in Ferguson. I went to Ferguson in July 2014. Mike Brown was killed in August 2014. And then when I went back, when I went in July 2000, went back in October. When I went back in October of 2014 to St. Louis, we call it D. Seals now, the Ferguson movement had happened. And I met this young brother in the mall, and he walked up, he was holding his cell phone, and was like, yo, I'm watching the feminization of the black male. Oh, I know you, brother. Oh, I love you. And I was like, I don't know, it just so happens that we coming in, it was the day that they were supposed to give the verdict. We came in that Friday. The verdict for Mike Brown was supposed to come in that Friday. We were doing a lecture on genocide on that Saturday. So it all just perfectly coincided without us even knowing that that's when it would happen. And we felt we were going to get a lot of momentum to help the young people out there organize against what they were facing. They're facing some serious racism out there in D. Seals or St. Louis. So long story short, he said, I'm coming and bringing my brothers to the event. They came to the event. And we were able to break down to them through what we saw happen at the event. The homophiles have taken over your movement. And so this is what they did. The young people who were infuriated at the murder and execution of our brother Mike Brown in Ferguson, King D. Seals, in D. Seals, St. Louis, organized, and every day they had thousands of them out in the streets saying, we're not going to tolerate you just murdering us like this. It's time for this stuff to stop. The gangbangers stopped shooting at each other. King D. Seals, we did an interview with him, and we played it. You can go to Irritated Genie Speaks and listen to the interview with King D. Seals, him telling you himself what happened. Long story short, Soros financed Black Lives Matter to take the energy of those young black people. And this is the thing, to their credit. They were serious. They were committed. They didn't necessarily have any finance support, nor were they seasoned in this. These were everyday brothers and sisters who saying, we're not going to let y'all kill our people. We're going to stand up and do something. And so this was the carrot that George Soros and the Zionist infrastructure said, let's use this momentum, put our hashtag on it called Black Lives Matter, take the young people's momentum and push them in the direction we want them to go, which is they're already standing up against the system. That's what they want people to do, but they want people to be counter law. And they want to really take the black community and use us like a battering ram like they did in the 1950s and 60s with the civil rights movement to turn away from the black power movement and the armed self-defense movement and the do for self movement, the Montgomery bus boycott type of thing, to turn from that to a we shall overcome, let's all love each other kind of movement. So they put a bunch of lesbians, they financed and sent a bunch of lesbians and a bunch of whites to Ferguson, gave them a bunch of money. If you look back at that time period, CNN, MSNBC, all of the major Zionist networks started going out there and finding the Black Lives Matter people and giving them time on camera, the ones that have been financed by Soros and the Zionists, to go out there and get in front of the young people. You heard very little from the young people themselves about what their issues were, but what you heard from was the Zionists who were in front saying, hey, the Zionist shills, the lesbians, the homosexuals, and what's the gay guy that they sent from Baltimore? They sent the gay guy from Baltimore out there that became really big, and now he's on television, all the TV programs. D-Ray McKessick. They sent D-Ray McKessick, which is just a homophile, black homophile, young, nobody of interest except that He was a face, a homosexual face, a homophile face they put on the front of the Mike Brown movement. And they started pushing the homophile agenda through the energy of the young people out in Ferguson. And so if you listen to the King D. Seals interview, he started talking about how they started paying the activists, taking on all kind of trips around the country. Some of them went to Geneva to testify about racism. But it was in an effort for the Zionists to take control of the movement, knowing that the young brothers didn't have any money and the young sisters didn't have any money. Give them a little money, send them on a trip or two, get them into some different kind of clothing, and then start pushing all of them into the homosexual agenda, which is exactly what happened. When we saw what was happening, I was in direct contact with Brother King D. Seals, who was the one who went to Mike Brown's mother when he was murdered and said, I promise you I won't let this die. We're going to fight this. We were in direct contact, and I was telling them, this is what they're doing with this homophile agenda. This is what you got to do to stop it. And in contact with him, he was saying, I understand, I'm telling everybody, but nobody gets it. They're pretty much buying everybody off. They're giving people a little bit of money, giving them a nice little apartment, doing this, that, and the other. And the young people haven't had anything like this, and it's losing the momentum, and it's no longer the same people out here even that were in it in the beginning, and it just lost steam because they were bought off. And I'm not blaming the young people. They did not understand the kind of power and influence they were dealing with. And so it became a movement that was just a homophile movement. Females that were there under Black Lives Matter auspices, now they get married. Where he said at first they were dating brothers. Now next thing you know, everybody finds out they're gay and they get married. And then the Black Lives Matter becomes a gay movement. And so that energy started happening. So what we started doing was saying, okay, we've got to put the information out there so that people can understand this is just a repeat of the civil rights era. So we began to put the messages out there. We began to put it out there on video through social media, Facebook, YouTube. We began to show people this is what happened in the civil rights era. Here's George Soros. Here are the lesbian females themselves. Alicia Garza, Patrice Cullors, and Opal Tometi. Here they are saying that our real objective in Black Lives Matter is to push homosexuality. Matter of fact, Alicia Garza says to queer out our movement. She says it directly. So now we're spreading this information and showing everybody this is a homophile movement. It's designed to push this on our people. So the strong soldiers in the street and the warriors in our community began to pull back and say, hey, wait a minute. We're not out here to push no gay stuff. This is about young brothers and sisters getting murdered. Now you're turning into something different. So we had a lot of momentum with that. Also, we were having a showing. The Straight Black Pride movement was in its infancy. It was our third or fourth, fifth month in existence in December 2014. We were showing a video that we had done in unison with African Unification on what's going on in the school system called Black Exodus. How they're pushing madness on our children in the school system. In addition to the homophilia, just undermining young brothers and sisters' education and destroying our youth. And I got a phone call from somebody I know that works in D.C. that says, hey, Black Lives Matter is going to come out to your event and try to disrupt it. So we had a heads up. So we made a definitive decision that they were not going to be disrupting us. And sure enough, they sent a sister there, set up in the front row to try to come and be disruptive and counter what we were doing. And we put her out. And we had it on film. So we were able to film us showing people you don't have to bend to this homophile agenda. That had a major ramifications because, of course, we put it out on YouTube saying, and Facebook saying, Black Lives Matter expelled from a Straight Black Pride movement meeting, which now started reverberating with black people around the country as they were able to watch the sister come in and try to push homophilia on us and us not tolerate her and having security put her out. They lost a lot of their steam and they lost a lot of we're this big juggernaut and their legitimacy. And shortly after that, they started going to Chicago with that same thing. And you know, them brothers in Chicago don't play. Those new era Chicago brothers were out there fighting against police brutality. And here comes this gay lives matter stuff, pushing this homophilia. And them brothers pushed them out and said, get out of here. It's not your town. We're not here with none of this gay stuff. We're here to fight for our people. And so they began to lose substantial momentum. When our brother King D. Seals was murdered in D. Seals in Ferguson, we found out about it. We went out there to Well, first, we found out that he was murdered. And, of course, that broke my heart. Peace be upon him, because he was a warrior. But what we did, I turned on Roland Martin. And this is important because I just want you to see how much power these Black Lives Matter have. When Black Lives Matter is supposed to be this rebellious group that's anti-government and standing up for the rights of our people, at the same time that was happening, on CNN, they had a whole entire page. Now, this is CNN. You go to CNN.com, and they had a whole page dedicated to Black Lives Matter, which shows you that CNN, which is a Zionist shield organization, is run by Zionists, is completely in bed with Black Lives Matter, because you should not be able to go to CNN and be able to see a whole page about Black Lives Matter, advertising Black Lives Matter or something good, if they're really against the state. So we see them working in unison, all the Zionists organizing to get our people confused, knowing that our people don't have our own media to share with our people. But thank God for social media, us being able to share the message. So what happened when I turned on Roland Martin after the murder of King D. Seals, Roland Martin had people on there, and the way they were talking was as if King D. Seals was part of Black Lives Matter. And they were trying to use his murder to gain momentum for the whole Black Lives Matter movement. So I said, nah, Roland Martin, this is not appropriate, because this is not true. Now, how much Roland Martin knew, I don't know. So the first thing I did was say, wait a minute, let's go back and see the interview we did with King D. Seals. Let's put that out there so that people can hear from him themselves. We put that interview out there, and I didn't realize how explicit he was about the fact that Black Lives Matter had sabotaged the whole Mike Brown movement and that they didn't mean our people any good. So we put that out on social media. It began to spread. People began to say, hey, maybe Black Lives Matter had something to do with his murder, which is what we thought originally as well. Long story short, the very next day, Roland Martin comes back and has some other people on, and now they're defending the position, saying, yeah, King D. Seals didn't necessarily like Black Lives Matter. So now they're correcting the record because we put it out there, and I started saying, okay. And the very people who King D. Seals had informed us were now working with the homophile agenda. One brother had a song where he was in the middle of his rap song. He was in the same rap group as King D. Seals. Now all of a sudden this guy's out there rapping about we got to love our transgender sisters, da-da-da-da. And that same guy is the one that they were using on the Roland Martin show to represent and talk about the murder of King D. Seals. So they got all the homophiles now controlling the narrative through Roland Martin. And we saw that, and so we exposed that information and showed everybody, be very careful of what Roland Martin is doing, because it's not true that King D. Seals and the Ferguson movement was a Black Lives Matter movement. They were actually complete opposites. So that's one thing I want to talk about. Also, we began to see how much power the Black Lives Matter movement was trying to gain. We had really stymied their momentum a lot, because people who had knowledge now, it wasn't that we physically did anything, but we showed people you can put them out if they come in here pushing this homophile foolishness. We also were exposing people to the information of them themselves speaking, saying our objective is to promote homosexuality and to queer out the liberation movement of black people. This is their words. So we were showing people this. The next stage of it was the 10-10 march that the Nation of Islam threw in D.C. When we went to the 10-10 march, we saw a lot of the Black Lives Matter, and they were carrying red, black, and green flags. And we were very confused at the time, because it was just very confusing, until afterwards there was a video that was done where a mulatto out of California talked about, and she's the same mulatto that helped stymie the growth. There was a brother that was murdered. Please forgive me for forgetting his name. Some of you brothers and sisters on the West Coast can help me out. There's a brother that was murdered in L.A., similar to what happened to Mike Brown, and the community was really getting strong behind it. And this mulatto out there, I forget her name, she jumped on board and was working with the people and then sold the people out and cut that whole movement off under its legs. And she was with Black Lives Matter. Well, a video came out with her after the 10-10-2015 Nation of Islam March, talking about how they had worked and joined and unified with the Nation of Islam, Black Lives Matter and the Nation of Islam, to do the 10-10-2015 March. And it was very in-depth, and she was talking about how they were there promoting transgenderism and homophilia. And we put that video out as well for people to see for themselves. And she just basically said we were nervous about working with the Nation of Islam, but we decided to do it because it's all about bringing unification And basically what they were doing is combining the red, black, and green African liberation flag and colors with the homophile agenda at the 10/10 march in conjunction with what the Nation of Islam was doing. So we saw that afterwards. We put that out there. And we saw even the move to have Richard Rainey Cheeks, the homosexual bishop, if you put his name in now, is Aquabna Rainey Cheeks. Rainey Cheeks. I know some people out there like, are you serious? Yeah. But he was the one that poured the libation. This is an openly gay bishop. He doesn't hide it. That's who he is. Who poured the libations. The only one up there in kente cloth or mud cloth, Boca Linfini, representing the African Center community, but a flaming open homophile, calling out libations to the LGBT ancestors at the 10/10/2015 march. So we see a whole Black Lives Matter unification with the nation for that march and the promotion of this through different means. So now what's happening is Black Lives Matter is piercing into the main vein of different black groups wherever they are, which is why we had to push them out of what we were doing, because people would have started thinking straight black pride was with Black Lives Matter as well, because they just start infiltrating in every direction and getting part of everything. So we saw that and we exposed that as well. Then we saw a brother, and I forget his name, it's on Sarnetta. If you put in Sarnetta and Black Lives Matter, matter of fact, the title of it is President of Black Lives Matter, Red Pill and the Blue Pill, Powerful Showdown. Put that in on YouTube. President of Black Lives Matter, Red Pill and the Blue Pill, Powerful Showdown. This is what happened. We exposed Black Lives Matter so much, and they were taking so much heat for being homosexual and pushing the homosexual agenda, that they had to figure out what they were going to do about that. So they switched and they adjusted their strategy to try to keep momentum, because by this time, this was put up in September 2017. By September 2016, in 2016, we pretty much cut the legs of Black Lives Matter. You hadn't heard much about them. So now they tried to revitalize themselves, and they said, we need a strong male image. I can't remember, and I can't find this brother's name, but he's a brother from the Bronx. He's an attorney, and it's better for you to watch this video than for me to tell you about it, because he talks about the Zionists that he works with, the Jews that he works with. He talks about, he's very clear in the very beginning. Yes, Black Lives Matter. Many of them are pushing the gay agenda and the transgender agenda. He doesn't say he disagrees with it. He makes no comment about it. But now, because the exposure is there, their new adjustment is, we got to get a strong black male now, because we got to gain momentum, and they need to see a strong brother. So he's a strong built brother. But also, they also said, let's not hide the fact we're pushing the homophile agenda, because then we can be exposed and we'll lose momentum. Let's just be honest. We are pushing the homophile agenda. Let's just go for it. We're trying to galvanize the black community behind this madness. So if you watch the video, President of Black Lives Matter, Red Pill and the Blue Pill, Powerful Showdown. This brother, I forget his name. Again, he's an attorney from Bronx, New York. Strong built brother is promoting the Black Lives Matter. That's their new adjustment. We went and dug up who he was and what he was about and exposed that as well. And so that lost momentum. In fact, he was the brother that they sent, him and some whites and others with a red, black, green flag, into a Trump rally. And he was able to get on stage and speak at a Trump rally. This is when, so it's like, are you serious? At any rate, it's an integrated movement that he was pushing. So we exposed that and kind of pretty much cut the legs off of that. So we pretty much thought that we had pretty much leveled off any effectiveness or momentum that Black Lives Matter would have. Oh, last thing I need to tell you, because it's very critical. I don't remember when it was, but we put it out on Facebook because we wanted it to be logged in so that if it happens, we would be able to let everybody know, hey, we told you that this was going to happen, so don't believe this. This is something that we put out on Facebook. It's been some months now, maybe 6 months ago. But I got from 2 different places around the country. One was Chicago. I'm not going to say what the other city was. We got contacted from people who told us that the funders, the Zionist funders of Black Lives Matter, had started meeting again. And this is what the context of the 2 different meetings. I'll talk about the one in Chicago first, then I won't say where the other one was in the country. The first one in Chicago, basically, they called together Black Lives Matter activists in Chicago. Most of them were lesbians. And they sat them down and they said, listen, Hillary Clinton, part of the reason why she lost the election was because, and the way they describe it, was these black nationalist groups. And they named three things that they had in common. They said that they were anti-Semitic, meaning against Zionism, against small hats, against Zionist control, against deep state. Two, they were homophobic, meaning against homophilia, against men with boys, men with men, women with women, against African standards of black man, woman, and child. And then number three, they were anti-integrationists. And when they said that one, and these were the three things that were said at that meeting in Chicago, when they said that they were anti-integrationists, it told me something, because I don't even know who talks about being anti-integration outside of One Horizon and Straight Black Pride, but I'm sure they are brothers and sisters in the African-centered community, don't get me wrong. But particularly homophobic, I said, okay, it may not just be us, but we're one of the ones they're talking about, this included. Anti-Semitic, I definitely know that we're one of the ones. I don't even know how many people talk about Zionism and the small hats. But then anti-integration, I said, yeah, we're in this thing somewhere. At any rate, what happened was they called, most of them were lesbians, and one of the lesbian sisters was there. And at the meeting, they went to start talking about the Chicago activists, and they said, what we need to do, they said that Hillary, part of the reason they lost the election is because these activists had put out so much negative information exposing who Black Lives Matter was and what the real agenda to promote homophilia was, that black people decided, and we put out a lot of information on Hillary Clinton and the harm that she was doing in Haiti and the criminal behavior, that a lot of black people started losing their affinity for Hillary Clinton and did not vote, particularly black men. And so they felt like these black nationalist groups had hurt their actual election. I did not know we had that much impact. I still don't know for certain, but if they're calling a meeting and these are the funders, these are the ones that I guess, I'm assuming these are the ones that Soros gives the money and then he gives the money to the activists. But they definitely said that these were Zionists. And they sat there and they told them, we have to shut these groups down in social media. And so they showed them the different people in social media that they wanted them to shut down. And one of them was a brother from Chicago who one of the lesbian sisters who was at the meeting recognized and was like, nah, he's a good man. We shouldn't be attacking him. I know that brother. He helps people. He feeds people. He does work in the community. And so when she left the meeting, she told him. And then the word got around, and then, of course, our people contacted us and said, hey, this is what's going on out there in Chicago. So that was very important for us to find out, because they said that they had to target the black nationalists or African-centered people online who were, and these were the three things that they mentioned: homophobic, anti-Semitic, and against integration. So we're pretty confident that One Horizon Straight Black Pride movement were identified in that mix of groups. The second one we got was a little more definitive and more direct. I'm not going to give you all the details of how we got this information because it'll probably give some people away. But suffice it to say, these were clearly Zionists who called together the Black Lives Matter people in that community. And fortunately for us, all of the people there were not homophiles. And basically what they said, and I should have pulled it up, but there were two white preachers. I forget these guys' names, but they actually been doing a lot of work against homophilia nationally and somewhat internationally. They've been on major programs. I'd never heard of these guys before. But they've been saying homosexuality and the homosexual agenda is wrong and it's detrimental and it's dangerous. We shouldn't be in favor of it. And they went around and they were saying that. And so they mentioned, they were talking specifically about homophobia. And again, they're financing Black Lives Matter to get back out here, to get cranked back up. And this is what their instructions are. In this particular meeting, it was very disturbing, because they said, we got to eliminate these individuals who are homophobic out of the society. We got to shut them down. And they mentioned two white preachers. I don't have their names in front of me, but we put out a post on it earlier. So if anybody can find that post and put their names up there for me, that'll help me. The two white preachers, and then they named two names in the black community. It was very disturbing to me. Dr. Umar Johnson and Irritated Genie in Southeast. And they said these 4 guys, the 2 white preachers and Umar Johnson and myself, they have to be destroyed because they are preventing the increase in the momentum of pushing the homophilia among black people and the homosexual agenda. These guys have got to be shut down. And they went through a whole litany of different strategies to do it. The only one that we got wind of that was the one that I thought was most important was the one where they said, we're going to have to accuse them of being pedophiles. And I guess the rationale was, if we call them pedophiles and we make people believe that they're involved in pedophilia, messing with children, they'll lose all credibility and momentum, and then they'll be pushed away from their own constituency base. So that people know, you can still let them know, because I wanted to be very careful, but I did contact Brother Umar Johnson and let him know, hey, be very careful. Particularly, he works with children and youth. We already got wind that one of the strategies that these Zionists are trying to push black activists to put on us is that we're pedophiles. So everybody knows it's not true, but just because people know it's not true doesn't mean that they won't try to promote this. So we're just putting that information out there to let people know this is kind of the things that are going on behind the scenes when nobody knows as we're doing this work. So when I saw what was happening with Brother Umar Johnson in this situation, I'm not making any judgment about the school or anything like that. I don't have anything to do with that. What I am saying, the fact that it actually went to court after all these years of people making these complaints, and this was months after we heard that there's a targeted effort to undermine Umar Johnson, Irritated Genie, and these other 2 white preachers who are against the homophile agenda, it made me start wondering, is this really because the courts are taking the legitimate concerns of black people in mind, or is this more insidious? And are the Zionists using their power to leverage government assistance and trying to knock down people who are against their agenda, which at this time is to promote the homophilia? So let me go into why I'm having this discussion today. That's just a backdrop. And I hope it was a beneficial backdrop to understand. We thought Black Lives Matter was done. We knew that they were trying to resurface, but we really didn't know, except to try to destroy us through online social media, how they would return. I'm going to get it together where I'm able to do these in the future, where I can actually share screen with you so I can show you these things. What I'm about to tell you to do, go to the Irritated Genie of Southeast Facebook page. And it's an open page, so you can look at it and start going through what we put out yesterday. Because we put these links to these articles that I'm about to read to you so you can understand the approach that they're using right now to target us with the homophilia, with Black Lives Matter. All right, so I'm going to read the first article. It is entitled, Maryland County Passes a Black Lives Matter Week of Action for All of its Schools. So the richest county, and this is where we are right now as we're speaking and doing this lecture, Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. PG County is the wealthiest county of black people in this country. And it's a big county. And again, it's called Maryland County Passes a Black Lives Matter Week of Action for All of its Schools. This is in theroot.com, a very pro-homophile publication, if I'm not mistaken. The Prince George's County School Board voted unanimously on Friday to pass a resolution called the Black Lives Matter Week of Action in Schools, so that the 128,000 students, most of which are black, in the second largest school district in Maryland will learn about and discuss the Black Lives Matter movement starting on Monday. That's today. Fox, and see, if we had known this before, we would have tried to organize and get well in front of it, but we did not know this was going on. This is in the PG County school. So if your children are in the PG County public school system, this is what they're going to be taught. That's why we're doing this. They are going to be taught that homosexuality is acceptable. This whole week is a week of teaching your children that they should be transgendered and that homosexuality should be their preference. Let me go on to read. Fox 5 DC reports that the Black Lives Matter Week of Action in schools differs from, but is inspired by, the Black Lives Matter network started by 3 black women in 2014. The Week of Action is a national movement started by teachers, parents, and administrators, and according to Teaching for Change, will include instruction about structural racism, intersectional black identities. When you see that word, brothers and sisters, Intersectional means homosexuality, homophilia, pedophilia, homosexuality, transgenderism, the whole sexual war that they're waging on our people, and black history. So they're mixing in, and when they say black history, what they're really talking about is teaching about Bayard Rustin and James Baldwin, making these homophiles into bigger-than-life figures to our children to push them into the homosexual agenda. The organization offers resources for teachers at every grade level. Prince George's County Public Schools, a school system which is nearly 70% black, was one of the first school systems in Maryland to pass this type of resolution. It reads, now I'm going to read the resolution to you. Resolution regarding Black Lives Matter at school. Whereas a national movement has arisen to assert that Black Lives Matter, whereas this movement has raised awareness about injustices that exist at the intersections of race. That word intersections means homophilia, merging homophilia with the black movement. That's what it means. Intersections of race, class, gender. Again, gender, what are they talking about? The homophile promotion, including mass incarceration, police brutality, poverty, unaffordable housing, income disparity, homophobia. Now, if you don't agree with men being together and women being together, if you have a black personality and black culture, now they're going to teach against you. They're teaching your children against every black person. I want you to hear this. If you're in PG County and you believe that a black man should be with a black woman, your children this week are going to be taught that you are their enemy because you are, quote unquote, homophobic, because you believe that black men and black women should build healthy black families. Unjust immigration policies, gender inequality, and poor access to health care. Whereas in support of a national movement of teachers, parents, scholars, and administrators who have come together to proclaim a week of action, affirmation, and solidarity to be called Black Lives Matter Week of Action in schools. Whereas the 13 guiding principles of the Black Lives Matter movement highlighted during this week of action are a means of challenging the insidious legacy of institutionalized racism and oppression that has plagued the United States since its founding. Whereas the purpose of the week will be to spark an ongoing movement of critical reflection and honest conversations in school communities for people of all ages and engage with critical issues of social justice. Whereas the Maryland State, whereas schools should be places for the practice of equity, for the building of understanding, and for the active engagement of all in creating pathways to freedom and justice for all people. And whereas the Maryland State Educators Association, MSEA, and the Prince George's County Educators Association have voted to support Black Lives Matter at School Week. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Prince George County Board of Education endorses and encourages teachers and students to participate in the Black Lives Matter Week of Action in schools to be held on February 5th through February 10th, 2018. School board members told Fox 5 it will be up to the teacher's discretion of what to implement during the week, including if lessons will be during instructional time before or after school. So basically what they're doing is they're setting it up. They can teach whatever they want, which means if you're out there and you're in the Prince George's County school system, since this is the Black Lives Matter Week of Action, you should be inviting the irritated genie into your school to lecture our children on protecting themselves and about African history and culture, and I'll do the rest. We have to be there. But the thing is, we can't barge in, or that's not the original, that's not our first option. We need brave teachers. Since they're saying that you can bring anybody in there that you want to bring in there, and that you can teach anything that you want to teach. I have my children with me. I'll bring my babies with me. We want to come in and talk to the young people about their history, and we can share history as well. We need to understand, if you're listening, if your children are in the Prince George's Public School, this week is being used to indoctrinate them. If you believe that a man should be with a woman, if you're a brother and you're with your queen and you have your children, if you're a sister and with your man and you have your children, or, if you just believe in healthy black men-women relationships, this week is being used to indoctrinate your children into the concept and idea that you are their enemy. So I want everybody to hear this. I'm sorry, let me go ahead. I don't believe it is political, said Amanya Page, the student member of the school board, to Fox 5. I believe it is a movement to encourage minorities, we're African people, and African American students to be proud of who they are and to embrace who they are because we live in it every day. I think it is important to understand our culture and understand where we are coming from in order to be productive citizens. Prince George's County is about 2/3 African American and was once the most prosperous black areas of the country before the housing crisis decimated its wealth. Despite many of the residents' economic trajectory, the county has long had a well-documented history of police brutality, including a very highly publicized death of Prince Jones, a 25-year-old friend of writer Ta-Nehisi Coates, who wrote about his death in his seminal work, Between the World and Me. Here's where it's very important, brothers and sisters. Who is Ta-Nehisi Coates? Very important. Ta-Nehisi Coates is the individual now who is in charge of directing the Black Panther movie that's coming out. Important for you to hear this. Very important. Originally, when he was doing this Black Panther movie, he wanted to have a lesbian scene in this upcoming movie. And Marvel told him, no, it's too early to do that. Maybe we'll do it in the next movie. But first they want to get our people drawn into the Black Panther. I'm not telling anybody not to go. I'm not speaking against it in any kind of way. What I'm telling you is, this is not speculation. Ta-Nehisi Coates, not only was he trying to have a lesbian scene in this movie, but in the comic book with the Black Panther that he did about 6 episodes, he actually worked with a lesbian female writer to create some of the female guards of the Black Panther. T'Challa were lesbians, and they had this whole homosexual lesbian they only did 6 of them, and then Marvel stopped it. But they started creating a whole lesbian comic book series with Ta-Nehisi Coates. So anybody, if you can, as we're talking, if you can go find where Ta-Nehisi Coates was doing this and trying to push the lesbian thing, and those 6 lesbian, episodes, comic book episodes that they had written for the lesbians, go ahead and post that link. Even the lesbians got upset when the homosexual community, LGBT, got upset when Marvel stopped them from doing that. So this is what this guy is pushing. He's pushing the homophile agenda hard. Anytime Marvel had to tell him, no, we're not going to do this in the upcoming movie. We're not going to have no lesbian scene for this black character that all these black people come. It's going to be the top-selling Marvel movie ever. And Marvel even said, we don't want that kind of backlash. Maybe we'll do it later once we've gotten all our money. But Marvel's like, no. So Marvel had to tell a black male not to push the homophile agenda. Now we see him being brought up in an article talking about how Black Lives Matter, which is really Gay Lives Matter, is now said, forget about trying to do this on the ground in terms of on the street, because they know that we're going to expose that. Now they're going even stronger. We're going and penetrating right through the school system. We're going to get the administrators to justify and make it acceptable for the homophiles in the school system to teach children during the course of their day for a whole week, indoctrinate them into homophilia, and turn them against their parents and everybody in the black community who's against the homophile assault. Now the parents will have to fight with their children who are being miseducated. If you are in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, you must share this with everybody and let people know what's going on, because this is happening to their children as we speak. Right now, it's 9:44. They've already started the homosexual indoctrination of our children. Coates spoke about Jones in the 2015 National Book Award acceptance speech. So, that's pretty much that article. Now I have to take you somewhere else, brothers and sisters, because it's not just Prince George's County. Let me take you to the next article. This is Baltimore Black Lives Matter Week Calendar 2018. So everybody, you can go ahead and put that on Google. I'll put it in Google, or if you can post it here. I think somebody may have posted it here. You want to click that and read it, but let me read to you what they're doing in Baltimore. Again, the city of Baltimore, predominantly black. This is a direct offensive against black children. The State Department, U.S. State Department, targeted Kenya, trying to promote homophilia and say that the black men are too masculine. They want to effeminize and homosexualize them with the white sex and the homophilia in Kenya. Now they're coming directly for our children. Don't even give the parents an option in the matter. Let me read to you the Black Lives Matter Week of Action, February 5th through 10th in Baltimore. All right? Black Lives Matter at School. That's what it's called. This work will connect educators, students, parents, community leaders, and allies. When you hear the word allies, that is what the LGBT calls people who may not be participating in homophilia, but will support other people participating in homophilia. We call them promosexuals or homophiles. So, on Monday, that's today, they're going to be doing restorative justice, empathy, loving engagement. So, how to love everybody. And the curriculum is for elementary, middle, and high school. Wear your Black Lives Matter at School t-shirts and take a solidarity photo with everyone in there. Great. So that's that whole day they're going to be doing. And then they also saying action at the Baltimore County Public School System curriculum. They're doing a kickoff, an engagement to demand Black History and Ethnic Studies curriculum, which really means they're demanding homophile. See, they're using very strategic language. It's not about Black history. It's about promoting Bayard Rustin. It's about promoting James Baldwin and homophilia among Black people. And more specifically, they're going to say they need an LGBT curriculum in the elementary schools. Let me go to the second day on Tuesday. Guiding principles. The first one, diversity and globalism. So now the globalists are coming out. Literally, they're saying they're trying to push this whole globalist agenda, this whole Zionist, globalist, pedophile, homosexual agenda. And they're going with the direct language to our children, saying, let's just go. They see that they can't penetrate all of us. So they say, let's go directly to the children and train them for the globalist agenda. Is everyone hear me? Here are the Zionists going directly past go. No $200, no jail time, nothing. Just go. They're going. So this curriculum is elementary, middle, and high. Here's the lecture. Confronting Racism in Teacher Education, Voices for the Field and Strategies for Change. Then, beneath that, this is on Tuesday, tomorrow. Support affirming spaces for LGBTQ points of contact with a concert by Bell's Roar and Baltimore artist Abdul Ali. This is at 7 p.m. at the Motor House, 120 West North Avenue. So, they're actually using this to promote in the school system this kind of madness. On Wednesday, y'all ready? The beginning, the first one, Wednesday, guiding principles. Trans affirming, queer affirming, and collective value. Curriculum, elementary, middle, and high. Protest, West Wednesday, justice for Tyrone West and victims of police brutality. So they throw in our wars to fight for our brothers and sisters who've been abused in the system. But in order to do that, they're going to make you accept homophilia, transsexuality, and all of this sexual madness. On Thursday, intergenerational Black families and Black villages. Are y'all listening to this? This is in the Baltimore County Public School System. Curriculum, elementary, middle, and high school. Video and panel. Black Teachers Matter. Decline in Black teachers in Baltimore City schools. Yeah, because you're trying to force them. The men can't be masculine. They can't do anything to teach the boys. They can't be real men. And you don't want men there because you want to push homophilia. So unless they're feminized or homosexual, they can't keep a job. The same as in PG County, the same as in Washington, D.C., the same as national, Chicago, Detroit, New York City. I talk to teachers around the country. They're saying if you're strong Black male teachers, you can't even keep a job. Please, go watch Black Exodus. It's on YouTube, Black Exodus. You can watch it for free. We sat down with many of the people that were at the table were in the school system or had children in the school system. And they told you exactly what was going on in the school system and how it's operating. Let's go to Friday. Black women unapologetically black. So not black people. Now we see the whole feminist thing. Divorce black women from black men. Not black people unapologetically black. Not strengthening the relationship between black men and women. There's nothing in here talking about us coming together as black men and women and building healthy families. It's all designed to split our families apart. This is direct warfare going right through the educational system in Washington, in Prince George's County and in Baltimore. And they did this without letting any of us know that it was happening. Which means we have individuals, and I'm not saying all of the people in Baltimore or Prince George's County in office understood what was happening, but it's happening. Right now as we speak, it is happening. It is occurring. So whether or not they knew what was happening is not as important as the fact that they co-signed it and allowed it to happen. Now they need to correct this and fix it. What we need to do is figure out how to get Darren Muhammad in Maryland into that school system so that he can teach and give information. So that we can counter what they're doing. We got to figure out how in PG County we got to get the Straight Black Pride movement on the ground here and figure out how does the Straight Black Pride movement get brought into these school systems. If they can bring the LGBT into the school system to push this on our children, we have a responsibility to do something. Or black people should demand in PG County that we get a chance to pull our children out of school this week and find places where we can have our children and bring them, even if you have to take off work, to figure out what we're going to do, because this is not something you're going to have to, if you cannot do that, keep your children out of school this week, you're going to have to deprogram your children. Listen, if your children are in Prince George's County schools this week and Baltimore City schools, you need to make sure tell them bring home every single lesson they give you. Even if you got to cop a couple of extra copies. I want to see everything that's being taught. I want you to write down everything that they're teaching you in the school. We want to give the children a chance to say, this is what they taught me in school today. And many of you are getting your children aware of the information that we're putting out here. You've let your children know about these kind of things. You've been sharing this information with your children. So they're aware of this assault, this homophile assault. Now they'll be able to come back. They'll be able to see what's happening, write it down, and they'll be able to come back and share with our people what's being pushed on our people as children, and then they can become part of the frontline war to help us stop what's happening. Right here in our black counties in the black city of Baltimore, right underneath our nose, they voted on something that we didn't know anything about, and now they're implementing it right away without anybody having the time to organize to say, no, we don't want this. So they did it very brilliantly. You don't even have time. I just found out this about 2 days ago. I found out about it. Today is Monday. I found out about it Saturday evening. No, I found out yesterday a brother sent it to me. Saturday or Sunday. It's not enough time to stop something by Monday. So they implement this homophile agenda on our youth and then don't even give us a chance to do anything about it. And now our children are being indoctrinated while we're sending them to the school. So we bear responsibility for part of it. But they did it knowing that we didn't know what was happening and wouldn't have time to organize against them. Black women unapologetically black. That's Friday. Support local artists at this youth-run open mic. So they're having an open mic that night, and then Saturday closing celebration and dinner at the Baltimore Soup. So most of these things, well, a lot of these events are after school, but they're talking about it being in school in Baltimore City schools. Again, go to Black Lives Matter Week of Action, February 5th through 10th, 2018. Now, what was interesting, I'm going to tell you another thing I want you to see online. Hopefully somebody can put the link in here so people can look right at it. It's called TTT. It's on YouTube, called TTT, the number sign, 565. Then it says Black Lives Matter at School Week of Action, February 5th through 11th. Why I tell you to watch this, you got these two white males talking about how they're working and organizing to push Black Lives Matter Week in black curriculums around the country. I'm going to say it again. The white males right there are doing it live, showing that they're the ones behind this. And you can look at these guys and tell what's going on. And they're talking about it. Somebody, if you can just go get that link from YouTube and put it right in here so people can just click it right in here. It's called TTT number 565, Black Lives Matter at School Week of Action, February. Then it has 5-11, meaning 5th through 11th. Yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you. If you watch this video, brothers and sisters, this video shows the white males who are organizing to push homophilia into the black school systems. Now, why is this important? I'm going to say now, it's almost irresponsible to not have the video I'm about to tell you. And I'll put the link in there after where you can get the electronic download or you can get the hard copy. It's a 3-disc set. It's called Pizzagate, the New Slave Trade. And I promise you, it's more important than anything. Because you got to really understand where all of this is headed, brothers and sisters. What they are doing now is they're preparing our children for things. You have to watch it for me. I don't even want to sit here and try to break it down to you. They're preparing our children for child sex slavery. And it's a very smooth process. And let me say it in a way that sounds less extreme. They're preparing our children to accept sexuality that opens them up for being easy targets for sexual predators. Let me say it that way. But if you really want to understand who's behind it, what they're doing, and why they're coming after our children. See, the whites are fighting back against this agenda. They have Trump. That's who they have. They have their guy in office, and he's shooting down this transsexual stuff. He's shooting down this other stuff. So what they're doing now is they're recalibrating, saying the only way that the deep state and the Zionists can get the pressure to knock Trump off and to push this homophile agenda stronger is to get black people to accept it and become their battering rams under the guise of saying it's racist not to allow homosexuality, to get us to be the battering ram. Because what they've been doing hasn't been working. So what they're doing now, realizing as parents that are responsible, we're not trying to push this on our children. And since we've awoken people to the fact that this whole Gay Lives Matter is a homophile movement, now they're going to the second option, which is to bypass us and go directly to our children. So what I want you to do, brothers and sisters, you got to get Pizzagate, the New Slave Trade. Matter of fact, if you put in Pizzagate, the New Slave Trade on Google, you can order this. You have to have it because there's no words that I can say that can help you understand it. And it doesn't matter if you're in England, the Caribbean, wherever you are, you can download this. It's Pizzagate, the New Slave Trade. You can get the electronic copy. We'll send it to you by mail. And then you can watch it and understand it. It's on our warnerhorizon.com website. Or you can get a hard copy through mail if you're in the United States of America. We'll mail it to you. It's a $50 product. It's 3 discs, 6.5 hours. I'm guaranteeing you will understand what we are facing. And it's critical because this is open, direct warfare. And you can see all the players. The Zionists have said, we're not winning against the Anglos right now. They have Trump. They have the commander-in-chief. So let's go through the black community, through its youth, galvanize its youth to go out with the battering ram of homophilia and degeneracy and push this madness and skip and bypass even getting the parents' permission to do this. Brothers and sisters, I'm here in Prince George's County, in Washington, D.C. I'm right up the street from Baltimore. My brother Darren Muhammad is right there in Baltimore. We've been talking about this for a long time. Now it's time for the battlefront. We have to face the Zionists head on. They've come to our homes for our children. If we allow this, then we get what we deserve. We got to tell the Zionists no. And we got to tell them whether the black people who voted this in favor, some of them may be innocent in the fact they may not know what they're doing. At any rate, they have to be dealt with adequately. And when I say that, I mean they have to be confronted. Hey, we don't agree with you pushing this on our children without our permission and against our agreement, and we have to deal with them. The Negro collaborators, not everybody who did this may be a collaborator. Some of them may watch this and say, I did not know that this is what we were in favor. I thought that we were helping our children realize injustice in the society. I understand that. It's a great front for what the Zionists are really pushing. But the truth is that these globalists and these Zionists are coming directly for our children to tell them that homosexuality, pedophilia, transgenderism, and all of this sick homophilic degeneracy is acceptable behavior. We have to fight against this. It's no option, brothers and sisters. We have to figure out how to organize, which means there are brothers and sisters who are in the school system. You got to get us in there. Or you got to take our products. I'll give you the DVDs so that you can look at them and study them and then show the parts that you think will be most appropriate to show in the school system to counter it, even if we're not there physically. But you've got, or you can take the information and share it. If they are going for our children and teaching our children to accept this sickness, which is a form of genocide, it's what they're coming for. They're coming after our people, our children. Then we have a responsibility to stand up. And you cannot be afraid. I don't want anybody to lose their job. I don't want any in the principals to lose your jobs. So you may have to hire somebody as a temp. Get them in there temporarily knowing, look, I'm going to have to end up letting you go. But what I need you to do is push this right stuff. And then, you know, they'll say, how did this happen? And we'll say, oh, we wouldn't let this happen. Then they'll get rid of you. And I'm going to let you go, but it's all good. You know, I got you in the back end. Whatever we have to do to work our way in, or if we have to organize events in different locations to let our people know what's happening and what they're trying to do to our people, that's fine. Whatever we have to do to resist this and fight this, we got to organize in our black communities in this area, brothers and sisters. So, this is what we have to do. They're coming through the school system. I wanted to do this discussion. I thought it was critical that we have this dialogue. It happened so fast, I can't tell you exactly what we're going to do. What I can tell you is February 19th, Monday, February the 19th, it's a holiday. It's President's Day. We call it Black President's Day. We're doing it Everlasting Life, 9185 Central Avenue, the vegan restaurant. It's free. 4 to 9, we're going to be having vendors. But 6 o'clock, I'm going to be re-releasing my book, War on the Horizon, Black Resistance to the Homophile Assault. It was written in 2005. We changed the cover, but it's the same information, but it's right exactly what we're dealing with now. And it's the absolute appropriate time for us to be reintroducing this to our people to understand the reality of what we need to be focused on as it relates to this homophile assault. This is real. They're coming directly for our children, so we want everybody to come out. It's free. Share this message if you're in the area or if you're not. It's a holiday. We call it Black President's Day. We're celebrating people like Robert F. Williams and Huey P. Newton, peace be upon them, both brothers who were born in February. We're saying the white folks have their presidents and we have the people that stood up for us. These were our presidents. And we put them on the flyer just to show homage to the brothers and sisters that were born during this time, who fought for our race and really represented our interests. And those are two brothers who represent those qualities, Robert F. Williams and Huey P. Newton. And so we're doing a discussion. I'm going to do a little bit of discussion about my life, how we did and got to where we are. But we're also going to discuss, and since this has come up, it's the perfect time to discuss the book in relation to what we need to do to organize in Prince George's County. So let everybody know we will be talking about this whole week, how they put, because understand, this is not the end, brothers and sisters. This is the beginning. Their new strategy now is to come directly for our children, which means they're going to be coming into the school systems. It's not a one-time deal. This is their new approach. Bypass the parents, come directly to our children, get our children to be the battering ram to push this madness. We have to save our children from this misdirection. So we have to be able to be there for them. And this is not the ending, it's the beginning. So we have to show some kind of force in resisting this, lest they just come with this nationally across every... This is a tester. They're testing Maryland because it's one of the states with the black people with the most wealth, and a lot of education and a lot of consciousness in this community, because we have a straight black pride movement here. We have War on the Horizon here. Quite frankly, War on the Horizon is the single black institution that I'm aware of, other than CAP, War on the Horizon and straight black pride movement, that are definitively, particularly War on the Horizon, directly against the homophile assault. It's the primary one in the country, and they come right to where we're headquartered and push this right to the children right where we are. So we have to resist it, and we have to do it intelligently, unemotionally, but very, very seriously to get the message out to people, because this is what we have at our advantage. Please share this. 90% of the parents in PG County have no idea that homosexuality and transgenderism is being promoted to their children this week under the guise of Black Lives Matter, which is really Gay Lives Matter. Because when they came originally, they were coming through the activists, which were more conscious brothers and sisters. We have access directly to their minds. We got them the information. So they're bypassing the conscious black people that understand what's going on, and they're going to innocent black people who don't know what's going on, who are hardworking, who are sending their children to school to get educated, but don't know what's going on. So we need you to spread this message, not to the, well, we need it in the conscious community, quote unquote, but we need this to everyday black people. Get this to your churches. Take this video and say, you just got to listen to what this brother's saying, so that the church members can say, whoa, I didn't know that they were spending a whole week dedicated to promoting homosexuality to black people under the guise of Black Lives Matter. I didn't realize this was a homosexual movement. Let me investigate to verify that this is true. And then they can go to our page and they can get the information that definitively shows them that this is. They can go to Irritated Genius Southeast page. Today, I'm going to be putting out more videos just to show you who Black Lives Matter really is from its inception, what they were trying to do, what they were doing, and how this is being used to fight our people. So I think I've shared the information. I think everybody out there gets it. I know I got a little excited here, but this is a very excitable time. We got to stand up for our youth, and they're coming at us directly. The Zionists, the white so-called Jews, they're no longer trying to find fancy, sophisticated ways to do it. They're saying, we're going to come take your children right in front of your face, and you're not going to do anything about it. Let's prove them wrong. I thank you for tuning in. Again, I want to see you in the place. It's free. Come on out on Monday. It's President's Day. We call it Black President's Day, February the 19th. That's, what's today? Today is the 5th. That's 2 weeks from now. February 19th at Everlasting Life. 9185 Central Avenue. Don't worry about bringing food. You can get your food there. Good food, good drinks, all healthy for you, vegan, delicious vegan food. And we're going to be doing, I'm going to do the story about my life a little bit, and I'm going to focus on the book, re-release. It'll be there. It'll be for sale. Homosexuality and, War on the Horizon, Black Resistance to the Homophile Assault, which is what we're under now. And we're also going to talk about this Zionist effort to push homophilia in black schools in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area and in the Baltimore area. So we want our Baltimore family to come on down as well, because this discussion will be relevant to you, because we're going to have the brothers and sisters in Baltimore on the ground fighting against this, and brothers and sisters in the D.C. area on the ground fighting against this. We have to resist this. Thank you for tuning in. We love you, brothers and sisters. See you on the battlefield. War on the horizon. You got to love it. Share it wide and far, brothers and sisters.